The other thing that I really encourage is learning harmony, learning how to do tritone substitutions, talking about maybe talking about superimposing chords, things like playing the five of the five of the five of the five kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's all these different ways of. It's kind of like being a piano player. If you ever listen to a piano player play, the bass player will be walking a bass line. Let's say you're doing the B flat blues, right? And all of a sudden the piano players start playing chords on top of that B flat. That's kind of like what I'm talking about when trombone playing. Like for instance, let's say somebody's playing an F blues, and you decide to do. So all of a sudden, I superimposed all different chord progression, but the bass player is still playing an F. So then all of a sudden, that's what's called playing outside. I'm not really using extensions. I'm just really putting my own. It's like creating your own song. Okay, you see 4 bars of F7. Well, I'm going to add some other chords to that to give it a little more meat. But you're doing it on the fly. So if you really know your harmony, you know your 2-5-1s, you know your tritone substitutions, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. I played a lick. The lick was just 2-5-1s, minor dominant. So right, resolved to the B flat 7. But what about if I augmented every single one of those chords? So all of a sudden you get. Okay, so wow, all of a sudden it's like that. What about if I just decide just to do half steps? Okay, there's a whole nother thing right there. So learn your harmony, learn the way that you get around. Just because you play trombone doesn't mean that you don't learn all this stuff. One of the things that I really, really, really enjoy doing is playing with Aebersalls. It's a ways to a means. Yeah, nobody likes the rhythm sections. Yes, they're static. Sometimes they're not that great. But it's a ways to a means. So I'll take a standard, and whatever it is I'm working that day. For instance, I decided the other day that I was going to be working on a lick that I heard John Coltrane play, which was something like this. And it was a 5 lick from 5 to going to 1. So I decided to pick a tune that was like in E flat, or it could have been in G, whatever. But every time that 5 chord came along, I played that lick just to get used to it. Just every time, boom, boom, boom. Or if it was F, this particular lick is like an F7 altered going into the B flat major chord. So then then every time a dominant chord came along, so then a B flat chord would come along, so I'd be like, oh, okay, what was that? Then E flat 7 came along, then okay, then I did what was that? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and just going all through all the keys. I'm still working on it, as you can see, but that's the way I would just put it in more of a performance context, as opposed to just sitting there with a metronome and just. I mean, obviously you have to do that, but eventually you want to get to some kind of performance context, because what's going to happen is when you do a gig and you're like, man, I've been working on these great licks lately, and I'm just killing. As soon as you see the rhythm section, you see the people looking at you, and everybody's burning. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna just forget about that lick, and you're gonna go back to whatever it is that you play. You're gonna be like, oh, So try to practice him in a performance context. practice the way you're going to play, okay? And yeah, it might be a little ridiculous with a neighbor solo and blah, 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 but you can take your time. Doesn't mean that you have to like play over all the other changes. Just whenever that 5 chord comes along and you want to go to the 1 chord, make sure you work on that lick. You're playing the lick, whatever it is. Now let's talk about technique a little bit, bebop technique, and trying to get faster, playing faster lines, faster tempos. I learned how to doodle tongue early on. I really was just blown away by Carl Fontana. I just couldn't believe, the tempos he was playing, just super fast, super clean. And, Bill Watrous was another gentleman. Frank Rossellino wasn't really a doodle tongue, and I guess it maybe was, but I think he double tongue. But Carl Fontana definitely doodle tongue. And Conrad Herwig, another fine, great trombone player. And I realized that I really wanted to play those tempos, and I figured out how to doodle tongue, but I didn't know how to practice it. Now there's some great books by Bob McChesney, has a great doodle tonguing book. There's one by Bill Watrous called Trombonisms, I believe. I don't know if it's still in print. I'm sure it is. And those teach you how to doodle tongue. I didn't buy those books. I kind of went about it the hard way. What I did is, I'm sure everybody owns an Arbenz book, and there's a section on double tonguing. So what I did is I grabbed the section on double tonguing, and instead of doing the taka taka taka, which you should learn how to double tongue and triple tongue. But for my purposes at the time, I did the doodle tongue, since I would doodle, 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 doodle. Now, how do you build up the doodle tonguing part of it? Well, doodle is just like it sounds, just doodle, 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 doodle. The way that you want to build it is, I have a simple exercise that kind of works a lot of the different muscles in your mouth, in your tongue and your mouth. And then all you need to do is just know your vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So what I do is, where the double O would be in the word doodle, I insert a vowel. So the first one will be daddle. Second one will be deedle, right, E. Third one is I, so it's diddle. Fourth one is O, so it's dodle. And the last one is U, so doodle. So you get that daddle, deedle, daddle, dodle, doodle, daddle, deedle, daddle, doodle, doodle. And you'll notice that in your mouth, all these different muscles are working. They're like, oh man, as opposed to just doodle, 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 which just works the front of the tongue. So you say daddle, deedle, daddle, doodle, doodle, daddle, deedle, daddle, doodle, doodle, daddle, deedle, daddle, doodle, doodle, daddle, deedle, daddle. Okay? And when you're going to school, when you're in your car, just daddle, deedle, daddle, doodle, doodle, daddle, deedle, daddle. Just try to see how fast you can get it. And then when you get home, you take that Arbenz and you put a metronome on, and always keep your progress. Always write metronome marking. And every week or so, go up to 2 notches on the metronome. Next thing you know, in about a month's time, 2 months' time, you'll be playing pretty fast. Okay, and yeah, you're just doing exercises. Right? Yeah. But eventually, but you have to get the doodle tongue going first. There's so many musicians that do not have language under the belt. When I say language, is it all kind of all jazz improvisation kind of stems from bebop. Now, Charlie Parker was the guy that pretty much, I don't want to say invented, but he was one of the innovators of bebop. So for you not to have any of that language doesn't make sense when you start trying to improvise. You say, well, I'm an outside player. That's the classic line everybody says. Oh, I'm an outside player. I play outside. I play weird notes. Like, well, yeah, but Ornette Coleman was an outside player, but he could play bebop. So the deeper your foundation, the hipper and the more advanced you will get in the long run. As a trombone player, going back all the way to Jack Teagarden, Vic Dickinson, on the Latin side, Barry Rogers, Leopoldo Pineda, Generoso Jimenez, all these old school trombone players, they're the ones that forge the path. JJ, of course, I mean, how can you forget him? But you need to learn a language in the sense that whenever you see a B flat 7 or an F7, you know what a bebop lick is. I mean, a bebop lick is not a pentatonic scale. It's not. Okay? A bebop lick is. Okay? That's language. And that's what you need to have in order to advance to another level. Learning bebop solos, especially Charlie Parker, all my students, I have them buy 2 books, three books, the Schlossberg, the Cornetti, and the Charlie Parker Omnibook. There's a John Coltrane one that just came out. That's great, but don't worry about that. You need to learn language. Because the other thing that really helps when you learn language is sometimes you'll get you go to a jam session, or you go to some kind of, you have a gig and you ask to take a solo on a tune that you've never seen. But it's got 2 5/1s and all that stuff. Maybe they're in different keys, they're in different tempos or whatever, but you can always go back to those bebop licks you learned. Remember muscle memory. We're talking about muscle memory. I mean, learning a lick. So whenever that C7 comes along, boom, there it is. There's that lick. Okay, you might be floundering, going, you're playing blues in G, Okay, so all of a sudden it's like, yeah, man. As soon as the C7 came, it's like your comfort zone. Like, I'm back in my comfort zone. Okay, and that is why learning solos, learning bebop heads, learning tunes, learning confirmation, learning Scrabble from the Apple, all that stuff. That's where it really, really comes really handy. Especially for trombone players, some of those solos are just ridiculous. So you're doing 2 things. You're learning language, and the other thing you're doing is you're improving your technique. Now, once again, some of these licks are super fast. You'll see 16 notes. You see like all black page, just 16 notes of Charlie Parker. And boy, he was a sax player. There's no way I can play that. Yeah, you can play it. You don't have to play it at those tempos, but you can definitely work up to it. Believe me, I've seen it done. But once again, metronome, real slow. Do 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 do, and over you do it, and over and over again. One of the things that you see that is really awkward sometimes to hear is guys that will play phrases, will play a solo like 1 bar at a time. Like they don't have enough continuity or enough language to play a line for 4 or 5 bars. You'll hear things like. Okay, yeah, I mean it sounds right, but it's like, but it's not. There's no continuity to the sound. So it's like, this is what I mean when I say continuity. Okay, like that's continuity. Like I know I'm playing here. I have an F, like 5 or 10 bebop licks in F. I have 5 or 10 in B flat. Whatever it is. And eventually you start creating your own stuff because you're so deep in what you're playing. But think about it like this. Like let's say you do learn a lick in F, like an F7 lick. You say okay? That E flat is going to want to go to the 5, right? I mean, to the 1, right, which is the B flat 7. And that E flat is going to go to that D. So like I tell to my students sometimes, I go, okay, think about it like this. Start a solo on one bar, and then the next bar, ask yourself this question, do you have language that translates to that A? So like, well, do you have a lick that starts in F? You know? Okay, there's one. Well, you have a lick that starts on A, you know? Whatever it is. Do you have something that starts in C? Do you have something that starts in E flat? Do you have something that starts in G? Okay? Think about it like that. So you got to cover all your chord tones. So whenever it is this magnificent lick that you've been working on comes along and you work and stuff, and then you go to the next bar, and the next bar doesn't sound as hip as the next one because there's no connection. You understand? So just make sure that you have all those. Are you able to play bebop and all the chord tones? When the chord tone comes, F, in this case F7, F9, F, A, C, E flat, G. Can you play a lick starting on that note that makes sense, that is in the bebop vein or bebop idiom? That's definitely something you need to ask yourself. And then of course, tempos, fast tempos. I mean, like I said, every week or so, you go up a couple more. If you're learning something like or whatever it is, I mean, those are things that I worked out over years, but now it's a lot easier to play those tempos where I can try to be a little more creative. The faster the tempos, with the trombone, it's a little harder to be as creative. You gotta kind of have to go back to your bag of tricks in the beginning, but eventually with the tempos, then all of a sudden you're like, because of the cumbersomeness of playing a slide, as opposed to doing this or doing this, So you have different aspects. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different styles. One of the things that keeps you viable, keeps you working, and especially in Los Angeles area, is your ability to play different styles. Obviously, certain guys do certain styles really well, and they're okay at some other ones. Other guys do really well, like on funk stuff or classical stuff or Latin stuff, or some other guys do jazz. So the more you're adept and able to play all these different styles, usually means you're working on a regular basis. Now, I came from a jazz background, and then I needed to work, so I started playing in salsa bands. That usually seems to be a steady source of income for a lot of young players when you're first starting out. The fact that I improvised was a huge plus at the time. But the way I learned how to improvise, especially in the vein, was listening in the Latin vein, was listening to people like Barry Rogers, I've mentioned him before, Jimmy Bosch, Jose Rodriguez. I mean, all these incredible players that were totally in the same vein, in the Latin vein, what I did is I made myself a tape of all their solos, and I would just grab their solo, record the solo, and then the next one. So I would have this thing just over and over and over again. I realized that the style that they were playing was definitely a little more like somebody singing. In Latin music, there's what they call soneos, which is kind of like, I mean, the thing that I would really kind of like compare it to would be like a rapper, coming up with his own rap, but he comes up with his own verses, like a poet, like a beat poet coming up with their own verses, that kind of thing. So it wasn't, when I listened to them play, they had nothing to do with jazz. It was definitely not a Okay. Now towards the end there, I started playing a little more Latin. It was more like, I realized it was more like, okay, a lot of classical influences, a lot of sixths that we're doing the chords, like a D minor chord with a sixth, a ninth, you know, a lot of very, very, very pretty, very sung, very, very rhythmic, you know. That kind of thing, you know, very, 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 a lot of bravado, you know, when they played. Me being Mexican, I mean, wasn't too hard to adapt to that. I didn't come from Puerto Rico. I didn't come from Cuba, so that style to me was real foreign in the sense that I didn't understand it. But little by little, I started picking up on that. I started picking up on the way they phrased things like what note choices. I mean, because a lot of these solos were being played over two chords, over these montunos, you know, D minor to A7, D minor to A7. So after a while, I mean, when you're a jazz player, I mean, you're playing tunes. Yeah, there's chords changing every bar, and you know, and you have like all this different. You get quite a bit of different notes that you can play, flat nines, sharp nines, whether it be that, you know, different chord progressions. But when you're a Latin player, I mean, it was definitely a rhythmic music. It's definitely a rhythmic music, and you kind of had to like kind of get in that vibe. You couldn't start playing a jazz solo over, you know, clave, you know. You couldn't do that. It was more like, you know. You know, very in your face kind of playing. So obviously that took a lot out of my chops, because then the next day I'd have to have a jazz gig and I'd be like, you know. So after a while I have to, because you know, from playing the night before, it's beating up my chops. I had to kind of like, okay, how can I play that style and still be able to function properly the next day? So, you know, you're not always going to win, but I realized warming down would work, and just really focusing on putting enough air through the horn where it was not as hard to play, you know, not make it so much a body playing experience as opposed to just using proper. I mean, because it's easy to lose focus on your breathing, especially if you're really working on your breathing. You're really working on your on the way you're playing the horn, your slide technique. You know, forget it. That goes all out the window. So anyways, going back to the soloing part of that, the phrasing, I definitely had to learn to not swing. Unfortunately, we swing too much. In jazz, I mean, it's all about swing, but I needed to kind of find it's a different kind of swing. And it couldn't be laying back. You had to be kind of really on top. Like I said, a lot of vibrato, a lot of bravado, a lot of, you know, going for it kind of thing, but also in control. I mean, don't start blasting. It wasn't a blasting kind of thing. It was like just more of a melodic, it's like somebody really singing, really just trying to say something. So I guess if you could put words to your solo, you're probably in the right, you're going in the right direction. But like I said, I would listen to those great soloists, and I just made a tapes, or now you can't, I mean, you wouldn't make a tape, but just listen to little tidbits and make yourself an MP3 CD of just, like I said, Jimmy Bosch, Barry Rogers, Leopoldo Pineda, Generoso Jimenez, you know, all these great players that made it possible for trombone players to play that in that way. Another style that I've been really fortunate to do is I do a lot of funk. I've been really good friends with Fred Wesley, and he taught me a lot of stuff about the way that the horn functions in a funk band, the trombone especially, which is it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely, once again, it's a very rhythmic thing. It's a lot of soul. It's not a lot of note kind of thing. I mean, there's no. I mean, you could, I guess, but the way I play it, I try to always emulate what Fred brings to the table. You know, like. Whatever it is, you know, he's got a pocket that is just unbelievable, and with funk, it's a lot of it is about the pocket. It's just okay, just okay. But once again, listen to Fred. You got to listen. The listening part of being a musician is just slowly eroding away. I don't know how many times I told my students, listen, you got to listen to this. This is what you got to listen to. And it's amazing to me how they go, oh, wow, I never heard this. Man, this is amazing. I've been playing this for, like, so nobody told you to listen? Yeah, but I didn't take them seriously. I'm like, okay. Listening is just so huge. Because back in the 50s, 60s, that's all they had. There was no videos. There was no like this. It was like, well, oh, what is that guy doing? Well, oh man, look at him. He's funky. He's funky. That's the way I want to play, and that's how they learn. Another thing that I do a lot of is I do a lot of recording for Disney. A lot of whenever you go to the theme park, you hear this stuff over the speakers. It's usually me. Tokyo Disneyland, Walt Disney World, whatever it might be. And the challenge in that, first of all, is being able to change styles like nothing. So I'm gonna try to emulate something that we play. Like for instance, maybe I mean these are, when you see a parade, the music's going from the beginning of the parade to the end of the parade. So it's about 12-13 minutes of music, and it's just different styles. I mean, you know, they go from funk to a samba to a march to a classical, you know, just because of whatever song they're playing at the time. You know, might be Beauty and the Beast, might be Frozen, might be whatever it is. So it's amazing, like, you know. I try to play like 3 or 4 different styles in one key, but that's how it is. It's like you have to change styles all the time, and then you know, then all of a sudden, you know, you're playing something like a reggae thing, you know. So all of a sudden you have to go from this reggae to like this beautiful piece and stuff like that. So you have to be really, really adept at all the different styles. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got something really constructive out of this. And I hope to see you real soon. And please feel free to pick up my CD. Thank you.